Ah, we were talking about them guys.
Little snake fish.
I'm gonna leave him for you to unhook, all right?
Yeah, no problem.
We're springtime bass fishing. We're gonna catch a few pickerel too. We're in South Jersey. Got a cold front happening here. It's gonna be a good one. I'm John Hawthorne from Delaware Valley Outdoors. Way to light the lamp, Al. There he is. I don't know what he is, Al. He has not shown himself.
It's a good sign.
I think it's another pickerel. You're a real nice guy to unhook him for me.
Not a problem. I know you're scared of it.
We're on Malaga Lake here in South Jersey, and I'm with a good friend of mine, Al Purdy, who's been gracious enough to invite us down to catch a fish. Got some pretty tough conditions, winds blowing. We just had a pretty bad cold front blow through, but we're hoping to catch some bass here on the lake. Al, appreciate you being with us today. What can you tell us here about this lake?
Well, today we're on Malaga Lake. It's in Franklinville, New Jersey.
Okay.
You can hear Route 40 down behind us there. It's about 85 acres. Like most other lakes in South Jersey, it's man-made.
Okay.
Used to be a cedar swamp years ago, probably close to 90 years ago, I would
90
guess.
years. The lake is 90 years old.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would say that, pretty close to that.
And talk to me about, like, what kind of depth do we have here? Like, we're kind of fishing out in the middle here.
Yeah. Well, actually, we would consider 4 feet down here deep water. So, if you're going
4
to go
feet is
fishing,
deep, huh?
oh yeah. If somebody down here says, "Boy, I was really fishing out deep," they're talking 4 feet of water.
Right.
You know, some of the lakes around here you might find 6 foot in that range right there, but generally speaking, 4 feet is deep.
Huh.
Has a pretty good mix of stumps, naturally the old cedar stumps when they logged it.
Okay.
All the lakes actually had at one time a good creek channel in them, but they're long silted over. You know, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, you could actually find a depth change in a creek channel.
Right.
But
But that's all gone now.
Yeah, it's
all
pretty
silted
much
in.
gone. You pretty much have to know where they're at.
Okay. And the primary species in here is
Largemouth bass
largemouth?
with a real strong population of chain pickerel.
A pickerel. Okay, you think we're going to see some pickerel today?
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. Okay, and too shallow for any smallmouth. No smallmouth in here?
No smallmouth. Smallmouth are not natural to South Jersey.
Okay.
We do have two lakes in the area now, Union Lake and Lake Audrey, which were both stocked with smallmouth.
Okay.
They're both both those lakes are over near Millville. One is, thought that was a fish there for a minute, one of them numerous stumps I just
Right.
had. Excuse me for 1 second.
You hit one of those numerous stumps just
Yeah,
then, huh?
yeah. Both of those lakes, Union and Audrey, like I said, were stocked with smallmouth. Audrey's over in Port Norris area,
Okay.
and Union Lake is out in Millville off of Sharp Street. But
Now,
those-
we're here in April.
Yep.
And, you know, of course, we get a pretty bad cold front that runs through yesterday. And,
Absolutely.
you know, of course,
Couldn't
should have
have
been
any
here
other way.
yesterday is
Yep.
always the story.
Yep.
But, you know, we're going to give them heck today. But what are we looking at here as far as conditions? Like, what's the water temperature? What are the fish doing?
Water temperature is sitting at right about 60 degrees, 59 in that
Okay.
range, and generally speaking, a largemouth bass will start to spawn between 63 and 65 degrees, so we're not quite there yet. But with the change of temperature, the bass, the bucks don't know whether to come up and make the beds
Right.
or back off. So they could, you know, it makes it tough because they could be anywhere.
So say, like, before this cold front came through, where were you finding most of your fish? What were you doing?
We were finding the fish actually mid-range between what, like I told you, the deeper water
Right.
and moving up, starting to work their way up the shoreline. So 2.5 foot up to the shoreline, and there's always the stragglers that are hanging like any other species. They don't all spawn
At the same
or
time.
breed at one time.
Sure.
It's directly related to moon phase, daylight length,
Okay.
water temperature. There's a lot of variables in their spawning activity.
And then when a big front hits? Do you typically find they back off back to the deeper edge of the water?
Normally they'll back off, and we talked earlier this morning before we got on the water that a true front is a barometer change.
Yeah, sure.
When the barometer drops below 29.50, it shuts the bass off. It puts him in a negative feeding mood. However, a bass is a predator and an opportunist.
Sure.
And he's going to feed when bait gets or food gets close enough to him. When the barometer rises from 29.50 to 30.50, it'll trigger the fish to start feeding. Once it gets above 30.50, like it's really starting to climb now, I'm guessing because the wind is picking up, the bass will seek out shelter because the water column gets heavy on top of them. It's like somebody standing on your chest.
So how are you going to change your fishing techniques though when we get
what we're trying to do is obviously we're working pretty quick. We're trying to get a reaction bite.
Right.
Like I said, they're opportunistic.
Right. So get a fish that's not necessarily actively feeding to just respond based on the situation.
Right. Yes, he's a predator. He's going to attack.
Right.
He's going to attack when something gets close to him.
Okay.
To try to feed him now is probably almost impossible.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky. The sun comes up, water temperature starts climbing a little bit. Get a little more action.
There's always that hope.
We're going to put it to them, that's for sure.
That's right.
Now I haven't seen him yet. I got no ideas.
No idea what we're dealing with.
Looks like another long and skinny one. Now I'm going to kind of work on this slimy guy here, but we're out here trying to catch some bass. We keep running into these pickerel here, but you're not just quite the average weekend angler here, are you?
Well, I started out just fishing for fun, and then decided I wanted to get into some tournament fishing, and joined a little local club. Actually started a little local club, I guess, 20 years ago, about 1992.
Okay. But you've actually done like kind of like higher up tournament fishing.
Yeah, actually moved up into the New Jersey Bass Federation, TBF. And I fished that actually since 1993. It's just kind of, like a challenge type of thing. A lot of guys will start out fishing for fun, and want to move up and actually see what they can, do. But if you notice, I mean, we're fishing out of a typical John boat.
Right. This isn't your prototypical, pro bass fishing rig here.
Absolutely not. I mean, for fishing around the South Jersey area and probably a lot of Pensy lakes and Delaware lakes and things like that, this is actually what you want. You don't have to go spend an arm and a leg to outfit yourself with a $40,000, $50,000 glass boat. It's actually a nice thing about bass fishing on local water, small ponds, is that you can get into it and it's relatively affordable.
Sure. Cool.
You can go out and have a good time.
You've also done some writing for bass publications as well, right?
Yes. I actually helped start a magazine that was around called South Jersey Angler Magazine.
Okay.
I was a writer for that and moved up to a freshwater editor on that side of the magazine.
Did you do many articles on how to catch pickerel? Because we seem to be doing good at that today.
Yeah. Well, they just come with the territory, and that's actually a good point that you're into. A lot of guys tend to want to change their bait that they're throwing when they start catching pickerel. The reality of it is a pickerel's eyesight is very poor compared to a largemouth bass.
Huh, okay.
So if a pickerel can see that color, obviously a largemouth bass can see that, and they're all predators.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a bad color choice because you're catching pickerel. When they cohabitate like this, and they do, they live in very close proximity. Absolutely. The smaller ones eat the bigger, the bigger eat the smaller of both species. It goes back and forth.
Right.
So we're catching pickerel right now. They're not as affected by weather change as the largemouth are, just because the body mass is what I learned, through reading. So we'll just stick with it.
You fished a tournament on this lake just a couple weeks ago, is that right?
Yeah, we did actually have a club tournament on here a few weeks ago, and it didn't take a lot of weight to win. We had very similar weather conditions. We went from some nice warm days to some brutal cold days, barometer change.
Right.
And it only took a few fish to win it, and you're talking less than 6 pounds.
Okay.
But you know, with all that said, I mean, you're not talking a huge population of bass per acre like in a lot of the northern lakes and the extreme southern lakes. It actually will make you a better fisherman fishing this.
So if you can do well here, you think you can do pretty well elsewhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, the proof of it is that you have guys like Mike Iconelli. Everybody knows
Sure.
Mike. Mike grew up 12 miles from here. He grew up fishing this. I can remember him fishing with his mother at 12 years old, seeing him out in the lake. And
Mike fished this lake sometime in his life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He fished here, Parvin State Park, which is only about 8 miles from here. You have Willow Grove Lake. You have Shaw's Mill. There's a bunch of small lakes in the southern Jersey area.
So is that pretty typical, like small lakes like this in South Jersey?
Yeah. The biggest body of water down here would be Union Lake.
Okay.
And that's just under 1,000 acres. But we commonly fish that in these boats here. You can fish it by electric or with a 9.9.
And you said most of the lakes, it's pretty typical. It's electric only.
Most
of them,
absolutely.
it's just electric.
And it actually makes it easier with a lighter boat like this, just for trailering and getting the boat in and out. Because we do not, generally speaking, have improved ramps.
Ramps, like we launched basically at like a beach.
Sand beach.
Sand beach.
Very advisable to have something with 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive.
So guys aren't going to be bringing in their, $50,000 bass rigs in here. They're not going to be able to launch them.
They do. They do, and I have.
Right.
But generally speaking, this is the rig that you want. Something
this is going to be
aluminum.
the ideal for this area.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be 18 feet long, 12 foot, 14 foot. Get out there and have some fun.
Right.
I mean, fish are fish. Rather be catching bass, but we'll catch whatever we can catch.
Yeah, we'll catch what we can catch. Right. It might end up being a pickerel show by the end of the day.
That's right.
All right, well, let's get back to it. Let's see if we can get a few more. He was so close to the boat. We keep seeing several of these pickerel keep following the bait up, and sometimes they hit it right at the boat.
Straight, when you go to change that direction.
So,
a lot of times
that was just it, because I took it and just pulled it around the other side of the boat, and he hit it.
Yep. Sometimes that's something to keep in mind when the bite's tough. Change direction on the bait, and the fish will strike it.
Well, that's the other, because we're trying to, we're stopping and starting, like I see you jerking the rod, and with the spinner baits, I'll wind and stop, wind and stop. Just try to get a little bit of erraticness, because like I said, the fish aren't actively feeding now.
Right.
We're just trying to trigger a reaction bite.
That's it. It's like another little pickerel, John.
Another pickerel, huh?
Yeah.
Let's get him up here. Let's get a look at him.
Again.
What did he hit?
Little husky jerk. Little 3-inch husky jerk.
Okay, so we're pretty shallow here.
Yeah. And he hit it on the front hook, so that kind of shows me aggression. When they hit on the front hook, it means he wasn't really chasing it down.
Not just kind of nipping at it.
Yeah. I mean, little fish, he's 12 inches, best case scenario, but they're aggressive enough to hit the front hook. We let him go.
And we're out here, we're way away from shore.
We're away from shore, but there is a stump field right there.
Okay.
It runs right across here, and you do have the channel runs around and cuts across.
Okay, so we're just trying to stay towards the edge, where like that first, whatever that little drop off is.
Yeah, trying to fish the edges, throwing up on the edges.
Okay. He's kind of coming in like a pickerel, though. I don't know if he's fast or not.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. He hasn't jumped yet, so I'm thinking it's another pickerel.
These bass down here in South Jersey are lazy. They don't like to jump.
Yeah, well, pretty soon I think we'll just start calling these like long, skinny bass.
That's
what we're going to call them. So tell me like where we're at here again. Like what's the structure that we're looking at here?
Well, actually what we did is we moved back up on the flat again, a stumpy flat. We just crossed over the channel, probably 40 yards behind us, and we've moved up into about 2 feet of water out of 3.5, a really deep ditch. We were in at 3.5 now. It just seems like the fish are hanging, and the bass should be hanging on this ledge along with the pickerels. Just the bass are so negative, they don't want to bite.
So what do you think, why do you think we're having so much luck with the pickerel today and struggling with the bass?
Just that the pickerel are not susceptible to temperature change and barometer change, same as the bass is.
Okay.
And that's about it. I mean, the pickerel has spawned a long time ago. The pickerel in South Jersey tend to spawn right at lice out. As soon as you get ice out, they spawn. The water can be 50 degrees or less, 40 degrees.
So they're done already with their breeding season, and where the bass haven't even really begun to get that close to it
absolutely.
yet. Okay, so the pickerel are kind of more settling down as far as into like a feeding pattern.
Yeah, yes.
And you said just not affected by the weather as much.
Right, absolutely. Got another one, Joe?
I got another one. What do you know?
How about that? What would that be?
Another pickerel on the spinnerbait. Pretty soon I'm going to be calling my shots. I think I might have to patent or trademark this bait here. Fortunately, this is a little Terminator spinnerbait, so it doesn't get bent up, which is very nice. Because these things can put a real hurting on a spinnerbait.
Tear your tackle up quick.
But something about that bait or the vibrations thrown off is really just making these pickerel really excited. Getting pretty good. That one's a little bit better. So we're having fun with them, catching bunches of them. Here on Malaga Lake. I like saying that, Malaga Lake. Overdue for a bass.
Yeah, way overdue.
What did he hit, Al?
He's actually on a black and blue Senko.
Nice. Man, look at how black they are.
They're pretty
so
fish
black.
in here. Yeah,
So he'd be a
black
keeper,
and
right?
blue. Well,
12,
yeah, he
13
makes
inch
12 inches. He's 13.
So,
He actually picked it up, and it was just one thump. Is all
Right.
it was.
that's where we can tell when the pickerel are biting.
Oh,
because
yeah.
They're kind of
Absolutely.
but the bass really just give it a
Yeah.
solid thump and almost just hold
Yes.
it or slowly start easing away.
Yep.
Need a pair of pliers?
Yeah, can you reach down in there with him, can you? Give it a shove straight down in there. He's not hooked anywhere bad, it's just tight in the corner of the mouth.
You ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Good show. I
Little
know you
pretty
told me these
fish.
are good looking
I
fish.
told
Look
you
at how they're
really
almost
nice
black.
looking fish, aren't they?
Almost black.
Got a clarity of water. Gonna let him go. That was on a wacky rig, 5-inch Senko, black and blue fleck.
And you didn't use the O-ring, so you
No
lost it.
O-ring. So you
When
can.
are you gonna learn, man? You keep throwing these baits away. You gotta get the
That's it,
O-ring.
yeah. Hey,
All right,
I'll throw a bait away for every fish. Sounds like a bass.
Sounds like a bass.
I'm trying to get him over there. Yeah,
What do you got, Al?
another bass. Ready?
Yep.
Right up there, the host with the most. He's actually a little bit bigger than the last
You
one.
think? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
kind of stubby.
Slightly.
A little bit stubby.
They do have some nice color to them though. This tannic water really
Yeah,
makes them dark.
I know when I was a kid, I always thought I called it cedar water. I guess
Right,
is what
yeah.
I grew up calling it. But
Yep.
tannic, I guess it'd be. Yeah, they're almost black.
Right.
Along the back
That
there.
one there, I changed bait actually out of laziness.
A little bit lazy.
Happens sometimes. You know, you get a little bit lazy and you don't feel like retying. I snapped off in that wood over there.
I hear you.
So I just went with a cut tail. I guess this would also be a 196 pumpkin black.
But now because we've
Fleck.
gone away from the wackies. Now we're just a straight Texas rig.
Straight old Texas rig, right down the line of the hook.
Well, maybe we'll have to make a change.
I think we had just said it. There should be more bass sitting in this little cluster of stumps.
We hope we're going to get them.
There they are.
All right, let's turn him loose. See what more we can get.
And now for a closer look at today's tackle, Delaware Valley Outdoors presents the Tackle Box. For more information about the tackle used on today's show, go to DelawareValleyOutdoors.com.
We're here with the tackle box section of today's show, and Al, we really started off trying to think we were going to catch some bass, but really we ended up with a pretty good pickerel show.
It did end up being
We
good.
caught a lot of fish and really had a good time with it. Yeah. We started off the morning with these shallow diving crankbaits here. So what can you tell me about this bait?
Well, that one there is called a Baby 1 Minus. It's made by Mans. I really don't remember the name of it. It has the green back on it. I think
Right.
that was kind of the trigger for today.
Well, because with this dark water here, do you find is color really important for these baits?
Yeah,
in
a
the
lot
water?
of times it is. Normally you need a little bit lighter side, darker back is what they seem to react to.
Okay.
Plus we had a cloudy sky, so they're looking up. It'd be
Okay.
easier for them to spot the lighter belly.
Another one we use that I was using is this, I think it's a Kevin Van Dam, like a 1.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Another shallow diver in that sexy shad color. All right. And the next thing we were using these jerk baits, the small jerk bait. Which one do you have
that's
here?
That's a Rapala Husky jerk. That would be like a size 6, about 3 inches in length.
Okay.
And actually only dies about 1.5 to 2 feet.
And when you say husky jerk, to me that means suspending. These baits suspend under the water? Or is
that
this
one doesn't. That's actually a floating jerk.
Okay, this is a floater.
Floating jerk bait, but it's a little bit bigger in diameter than the original.
Okay. So floating, we had a lot of shallow water here. You don't want a suspending one here?
No, you can use suspending, but the weeds and the stumps are so tall in here that we find if you use a suspending, it stays at that depth, and when you jerk it down another time, it tends to hang up a little bit more in the stump, so that does a little bit more nose down attitude dive.
Gotcha. This is one I caught a couple on this today. This is an X-Wrap, a Rapala. This one does suspend, but I like the size of this one. The green, kind of blends in real well, and is a very natural looking. So then when we were fishing some of these stumps, we started to move into some more plastics.
Right.
And you started throwing like a Senko, a Yamamoto Senko bait, like this. Okay, how are you fishing this today?
That one right there, I prefer to fish that wacky style where you rig it through the middle, and we had talked about that. I just tend to put the hook through the bait, and you don't get as much life out of it as opposed to what you do.
So, just hook that bait right through it.
Yep, exposed hook.
The downside of that is, when you set the hook, oftentimes what happens with the bait?
You tend to tear the bait in half and lose them.
And these guys, $6 or $7 for a bag of them. So they can be pricey.
Yep, they get a little pricey.
So, what we shared earlier in the show is what I like to do is take one of these O-rings, and they can be had at a plumbing supply store, Home Depot, Lowe's, anything. And the O-ring slides onto the worm, and then the hook actually hooks the O-ring.
Right.
And it makes the bait last a heck of a lot longer. I'm just cheaper. I don't like spending too much money, on my baits. So I like going through.
Well, it may actually give it a little bit better action too.
Well, action could certainly be, when we're struggling, because as we said today, cold front, we were fighting for bites there for a while.
It was
until
tough.
it warmed up a little bit. I broke out my bubble gum worm and got some bites on this as well. I fished this with a swivel, so that if it's spinning or we don't get any twists in the line.
And, John, we had talked about that bubblegum bait out on the water, and a lot of people consider it a joke bait. Who would fish with pink? But like we had discussed, when you get in a tannic or a red cedar type of water, if you drop that down about a foot into the water column, that red tint to the water actually turns that into a natural night crawler color.
Right, like a night crawler.
So it becomes very attractive to the fish. It looks very natural once it's in the water.
Now, some other plastic that you were using, you were Texas rigging as well.
Yes.
And we often will show a Texas rig, how to rig it with a hook and just kind of nose hook it and bring it out. And then we can be tucked back in, because with all the cover we had out back there, it was just a tremendous amount of stumps, weeds, emergent lily pads. There was a lot of stuff to get hung up on. Several times we got crankbait stuck.
Yes.
And we had to go in and chase them, and, even getting the boat stuck.
And that rig there is about 95% snag free, I would say. The whole trick to the Texas rig is whether you fish it weightless or with a bullet weight in front of it. The whole trick is to make sure that bait is laying in a perfectly straight line. Okay. If you have any twist in it, what it does is it whips when you're cranking in. It causes your line to knot up on
a lot of twist.
Yep.
Now, you had said the weights that you were fishing. You said like the heaviest weight you'll go with in this lake is what?
1/16 to 1/8 of an ounce. Yeah. Unless when the weeds really start to grow, you have a little bit of milfoil coontail in here, and we'll go up to a 1/4 ounce, maybe a 3/8, depending on where the bass are at. If they're down in the weeds or up. Whether we want to float them,
weeds,
absolutely.
Slide over the top. And then really what ended up putting probably the most fish in the boat today.
It was impressive.
Was this this is like a mini Terminator spinning bait. Yep. It's got the the titanium wire on it, so it doesn't get bent out of shape, because one of the things we kept having was those pickerel were just tearing it up.
Yep.
And oftentimes with a regular spinner bait, it will get bent, it won't run correctly. That's one of the great things about these Terminators, is that they always stay true. Started throwing this, and although we didn't get any bass on it, just the pickerel just started tearing it up. And so really was able to put a lot of boat in it. This is an 1/8 ounce bait. I guess we call this Fire Tiger. It's got some chartreuse, some orange in it. I don't know that we tried any other colors because they kept
we
hitting
didn't.
this.
Did not.
The other thing that I noticed with this was slow rolling it, just barely winding it in on a slow retrieve was really seemed to be the key. I think almost all of my fish came from that, just throwing it, winding it. I just try stop and pause, but just that slow roll was
barely moving. And you know, when we tend to talk bass fishermen, we tend to talk down the pickerel, but I'll tell you what, they're a great game fish, and it certainly made something out of the day that could have been disastrous.
Yeah, it could have been tough. We had a great time. You know, we were double digits in fish today. So it was a great day. Well, that's it for the tackle box.
What you got there, John?
I think we're being consistent. We're keeping the pickerel show going.
Keep the pickerel show going. Takes a lot of talent to catch fish.
It does take a lot of talent, you know. I mean, hey, anybody could catch a bass.
That's right.
You know, catching a pickerel. Al, listen, really appreciate you having us out here on Malaga Lake. We've had a good time. You know, caught a lot of these pickerel. Believe me, I love catching pickerel. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, had a great time fishing with you too, John.
Yeah, it's been a good time.
Shame it was such a tough day, but
hey, that's why they call it fishing. It's just great to be out. Great to see a new spot too. This lake is gorgeous.
Glad to have you.
Well, listen, I'm John Hawthorne from Delaware Valley Outdoors. You're looking for some updates, some information, check us out on Twitter and on Facebook. And we'll see you out on the water. He's jawing it, huh?
Yeah. Picking it up, setting it down.
Can you hold the rod? Oh, I wish I'd catch a bass.